On May 12, 2006, while still working with the Legacy INS National Security Group in Boston, I was asked to review a tip that was called into our tip line by an anonymous caller. The tip was related to a business in New Bedford, Massachusetts, identified as Michael Bianco Incorporated, MBI. The caller alleged that the owner of MBI, Francisco Insolia, an Italian immigrant, was knowingly hiring hundreds of illegal aliens and assisting many with obtaining fake or fraudulent identification documents. The tipster described deplorable working conditions at MBI. These included providing only one roll of toilet paper per stall per day, docking an employee's pay by 15 minutes for every minute they were late, fining employees $20 for spending more than 2 minutes in a restroom stall, and terminating them for a subsequent offense, fining employees $20 for leaving their work area before the sounding of the bell signaling the break, fining employees $20 for talking while working, and terminating them for additional violations. What stood out was the fact that the company was a Department of Defense contractor that manufactured tactical military vests. It was later discovered that Insolia's wife was the president of a company called Frontline Defense, FLD, which operated out of the same facility. The way MBI did business was to have workers clock in and out on MBI time cards for all hours between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., and then clock back in on FLD time cards to avoid overtime compensation. Based on my training and experience, several red flags were raised immediately. I harked back to the ESC case, where we had a defense contractor physically offshoring production of goods and services to Russia. In this case, Insolia simply brought the foreign workers to the U.S. to make the goods. This had broad national security implications. I knew that if terrorists had found their way into the defense contractor's facility, we might be dealing with serious injuries and/or death. I also knew that terrorists could infiltrate and sabotage these goods by, let's say, rubbing a WMD agent like ricin on the vests, potentially resulting in the deaths of our military service members. Some people would say, no way, that could never happen. It most certainly could, as terrorists are limited only by their imaginations. Utilizing law enforcement technology, I was able to track down the anonymous caller and cultivate her into assisting in the investigation as a confidential informant, CI. CIs are the lifeline of any street agent. They are in a position to provide the who, what, when, where, and how of a criminal organization. They can be pivotal in assuring that we can successfully investigate and prosecute. Confidential informants could be anyone from ex-spouses of criminals to competitors who see unfair practices to concerned citizens. This particular CI was a female and a mother and the perfect example of a concerned citizen type of CI. She was motivated by the desire to do the right thing, but she also had skin in the game because MBI employed her as a stitcher. She was shocked that the owner had so many illegal workers employed and furious that these positions weren't available to the residents of New Bedford. This was a sad state of affairs for New Bedford, which had the highest unemployment rate in the state. MBI had received approximately $57,000 in tax incentives to hire legal citizens. Hundreds and hundreds of legal U.S. citizens could have and should have been employed by MBI with that money. They could have attracted workers not only from Massachusetts, but from the neighboring states of New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and New York, people who were willing to relocate for work for a good defense contractor. MBI could have offered legal U.S. citizens the kind of employment opportunities that would have enabled them to buy groceries, put their kids through school, and buy a home. There is residual benefit to the economy when you have a corporation hiring legal citizens. I ask myself, how could this be happening? With this many alleged illegal aliens in one business? Surely, during DoD visits, they witnessed the deplorable conditions and spoke to workers. So, where was the DoD oversight of this business? Didn't anybody ask the right questions? Didn't anybody from local, state, or federal government care? As the investigation continued, it would become clear that an attitude of willful blindness hovered over the entire city. The fact that all this was happening in my hometown of New Bedford was hard to swallow. New Bedford had been considered one of the wealthiest cities in America during the whaling days, as depicted in Moby Dick. Now it was one of the worst cities in America. Over the past several decades, the elected officials of my hometown had failed this once beautiful city. They had poured billions of dollars into the town, with little to show for it.